I'm Adam Sowers, your game master and host, and with me is a bunch of really cool folks that are going through some tough shit right now.
Yeah.
But we're gonna roll on, and I will let them introduce themselves. Who are these people?
Hello, I'm Caleb James Miller. I'm playing Dull, and it is sad Dull hours.
Hi, I'm DJ Stonecraft. I'm playing Theo, and she has a potato heart.
Mm.
Oh, the sweet
What's
potato.
up? My name is Sarah L. Kinney. I am playing Winnie Chandler, and she desperately needs level 5 spells.
And I am Kerri Smith. I am playing Vetra Vikander, and oh man, she hates talking.
Well, let us stop the talking and go to the adventure. You smell the cold breeze of autumn, the approaching winter. You feel that cold wind. You also feel a weight, that secret, that thing that happened. And as you open your eyes, you can see the city of Thanes in front of you. And it is midday, but there's this big fog that has blown in into the city, and there's not many people out right now. It has this weight on it. And the camera cuts to a different part in the city where there's not very many people out right now, but there is one hero out during this flashback. And who do we see first? And what are they doing? And how are they feeling right now?
You see Dull walking out of the darkened courtyard of our manor, underneath the sort of oil-lamped pathway that leads out of the manor itself. He's just had a very brief conversation in which he said very little, but Vetra said quite a bit in the hallway as he was leaving. But there is something still in him that needs to be rectified before he feels that he can get any sort of comfort for the night. He's rolling over every conversation that they've had in the past hour and realizing just how tired he feels, not even because of the days that he spent awake because of this and the hours that they've had to put forward without rest, but because of the hopelessness that's been infused into every part of him, realizing that not only was he beat, but now there's no going back from what's going to happen, and he has to change every direction he was making. So I think that Dull is looking for power, or at least for control, to bring himself back to a place where he feels that he can at least make choices.
So Dole's wandering through the streets thinking about this. Where does he head in this sort of trying to reclaim, I guess, his power?
There is a prison in Thanes that is maybe 2 blocks from the manor itself and works with the municipality of the city, and through King K.o.N's decree keeps a lot of the worst of political prisoners and vagabonds and people who have done wrong within that prison. And I think Dull makes for its gates and looks for an individual that is at least partway familiar with his visits to this place.
I'd say that you run into a specific guard. I'd say that their name is Kevin. And they know that you visit this place pretty frequently. and he sees you approaching. He sort of looks at the other guards. He's like, "Why don't you take a break?" And the other guards like, "All right," and they sort of walk away and sort of gives the nod, and without saying anything, he just goes, unlocks the door to a specific, unlocks the door. There's like a side thing of the jail, and he unlocks it and opens it for you, and I guess you follow him through to a place to your destination.
Before we go through the door, I do take him by the shoulder, and I look him square in the eye, and I say, "You're upholding our end of the deal? You've told no one?"
He nods, and he's like, "Honestly, there's nothing to see."
Good. Why don't you show me the worst one down here? And I shut the door behind us, and I start to lead him through past these cells and cells and cells, past through the deepest parts of the prison. Just show me who you would like to see missing.
All right, we got a pretty bad piece of shit in here the other day. And I would say you feel that pain again. I think probably the pain that you were feeling before this was the pain of the events that have happened, but now this is a physical pain, and
Right.
it sort of reminds you. And he leads you to a cell. You see the person. He's talking to you, telling you about this person who's a piece of shit. I don't even think you hear it. It's just, it's just mumbling, muffled. He talks sort of like about what they've done and blah, blah, blah. And he spits on the floor at some point. You don't really hear any of it.
Good.
Because I think there's this feeling. What is that feeling as you're looking at this person in the cell?
It's like my skin is made of fire. It's like every part of me is alive. It's a change in the senses. Everything feels twice as much as it should. I take him again by the shoulder and I tell him, unlock the cell, leave, and never look back.
And he nods, unlocks it, and opens the cell. And you know that this cell block, they only keep one person in this cell block. Let's say it's solitary confinement, this area. Unlocks it, walks away.
I step in. I'll take maybe the one stool opposite his cot and sit across from him, sort of kneeling my tall form down enough that I can look him in the eye as he sits up in his cot. I think he's an older individual, older than you'd expect of a career criminal. Human, graying around the edges, with a beard that's fuller than his hair, scars along his face, excuse me. He's been doing this a long time, just like Del.
He sort of looks up. He's like, I thought they lied about you. They said the devil would come for me. Never thought he'd be dressed so nice.
Well, I have to keep people thinking that we're on the side of good, right? That's how the devil does his business. Can I ask something before I do this to you?
Sure. Give
Why
me
do
one
you
bit left.
do what you do?
I do it to survive.
That's a good answer. And I move on him quicker than he can ever think. And the canines of Dull extend so far as to expound past the tusks of his half-orc nature. And by the time that his teeth are expounded into this man's neck, the jugular's already broken. And he's in this man, drinking everything that he is. He's slaked with gore as it covers his pale green skin. And Dull does him a courtesy to cover his mouth as he cracks him open wider and drinks him full. He is no longer alive by the time Dull is done with him, and the fire in Dull's veins begin to finally quiet, like water doused over the steam.
And I'd say, Dull, this is obviously not the first time that you've had to do this, but I would think, is there some, what is the feeling you have after this? Is this a regret? Is this
There is always regret, and there is that reminder of a higher purpose, of a reasoning behind it, of knowing that he was taking from a spoiled stock to begin with, and that it's to buy him another day to do a very good thing. But I think that this time especially feels like the last time.
You get a little flash of Vigo standing, just the blood dripping from his face, sort of like holding Davith in the air, looking crazed, and just a little flash of that sort of comes back.
I think every time that he eats, there is a visit from Vigo. That is what runs through him, is that memory of both supernatural and just locked into his being.
And I think we cut away from there.
I think Winnie is easy in a way, because what Winnie's up to is pretty expected. That night before, it was like a mix of a weight being pulled off of her chest, and instead being replaced with an incredible responsibility that she's chosen and that she wants to try to move forward. And this has certainly not been Winnie's favorite day, and she doesn't expect the next 3 to be her favorite either, but she's moving forward having kind of said yes to the situation, and having said yes to trying to figure out a way forward. And so she spends the night kind of in the library, pulling scrolls, pulling books, humbling herself to pull notes that she's received from Tom, and pulling spell scrolls that were previously at a level of magic that she didn't comprehend or know how to deal with. And she grabs a couple that are still beyond her ability to access the magic that just suffuses the air that she breathes. And she pulls them all into her office, and she spends the night reading, trying to find something that can help Theo, trying to find something that they can use to actually deal with Tom. And she spends kind of parts of the night just, I think, in quiet silence with Vetra and exchanging a few words here and there. And as the group gets ready to set off, Winnie has a very different, it's usually this kind of frenetic energy that she has trying to get ready for a journey, because she's packing books, she's packing scrolls, she's filling the carriage with half of the library every single time. This time she's getting ready, she's pulling those things together, but it's a much smaller, it's a much more targeted list of things that she's brought, because she knows that time is ticking and she doesn't have any moments to waste. I think anything that would have been requisitioned through Winnie, she probably worked with Mortimer to kind of put in specific requests, likely to the heroes, because I think from her time actually fighting, not with the heroes, but in the war, and being at least tangentially related to stuff that was going on, she has some knowledge of items that might have been used in the past, or knowledge of places where items might have come, people who could have forged items. And so Winnie, I think, predominantly uses those connections and uses Mortimer to do a lot of the administrative work of putting in those requests. And maybe it's in this day that some of the items that would have made sense to come through those channels for everyone arrive at the mansion, and Mortimer would have, I think, done the deliveries.
A little bit of reasoning, since magic is so rare in this world, I would say like maybe there was like during the war there was like a boom of a bunch of like there was an artificer, and I would say maybe they were working closely with Veradin and with Tom, and they were like making a bunch of stuff. But then like when the war ended, it's like there was like, you know, we're done making those items, so they kind of maybe like stored them somewhere or had like various like item index or libraries or whatever, and then it was just kind of like, oh well, we'll just give those out or whatever. So those things have arrived, and I guess could everyone either tell us what you've got, what you received, or be like, it's mysterious, I'm going to reveal it later.
Winnie gets one item that I can describe now. It's we're gonna call it like a magic bookmark, essentially. So during the war, Winnie was given kind of this item to slip into her grimoire, her magic book. That's really just been this leather-bound diary that she's had since she was a kid. It has flowers painted on the edges of it that she painted herself, when she was 5, and she's carried the same book forever. And during the war, she was kind of given the ability to have it tap into more magic and have it be more of a conduit for her magic. And at the end of the war, she gave it back because she didn't want to fight in the first place. And she's requested it again. And so it's just this, I think, this piece of leather with carvings down the center, probably carved in, infusing it with magic. And when she slips it back, I think, into the magic book, she puts it into a page that's like her current spells that she has prepared. And this is kind of giving the magic book a +1 across the board.
Cool. Awesome.
The only item you really see Vetra receive is she opens a box, and it's just this really shiny, brand new, very sharp silver blade. And you don't really see what she does with it after that, and it's not the blade that she's carrying with her.
I need to ask Veradin for mine, so I'll wait.
Oh boy. Okay.
Theo chooses things that she thinks might prolong her life a little bit longer. So she chooses a cloak of protection and a luck stone, just hoping that it'll make it a little bit harder to hit her so she can stay upright a little bit longer.
Hell yeah.
The last thing we see is Winnie's kind of packing up, and she is holding 2 rings in her hand. And she just kind of makes a fist around these 2 rings. And she's not ready to give them yet, but she'll save them for later.
Then I'd say we jump over to Vetra.
Vetra starts walking back to her room after a conversation with Dull and runs into Theo. And I think there's just this long moment of eye contact where nothing's being said, but a lot is being said at the same time. And it just kind of leads to this, like, just shoulder touch and squeeze. And then Vetra turns and heads to Winnie's office, where she goes in quietly and just sits and spends the night in Winnie's office, finally able to steal little glances without Davith interrupting.
At first, when we find Theo, she's in her room at the manor, and she's very quickly scribbling a few notes and putting them in envelopes. And you can see that there's one labeled Vetra, there's one labeled Winnie, one labeled Dull, and the one on top is labeled for Mortimer. And she goes digging in this old trunk that's at the foot of her bed, and she's digging through it, and she finds an old cloak of protection that belonged to Vigo a very long time ago. And she puts it on over everything that she's wearing. And she spends some time in the evening kind of opening her door and looking out to make sure that there's nobody in the hallways, to try and see if her friends are in their rooms. And when she's certain enough that they're asleep or busy, she will leave and lock her door and start down the hallway. But she almost immediately runs into Vetra. So she I guess missed a perception check along the way. But she does run into Vetra, and they kind of have this again moment of seeing each other, having an idea perhaps of what's going on. And Theo smiles a little bit at the touch on her shoulder and gives a little thumbs up, or at least tries to. Theo puts the hood up over her head as soon as Vetra's back is turned, and Theo goes out looking for trouble on the streets of Thanes. Specifically, she's looking for a tiefling dive bar on the edge of town, somewhere dangerous that she really shouldn't be going alone. And she makes her way there. I think at this point it's rather late. It's raining. She's like soaked through to the bone, and she goes out to this tiefling dive bar.
I'll say it's called Horns and Thorns.
Horns.
And yeah.
She will go up to the bar at Horns and Thorns and sit down, and over the course of a couple of hours order really as many drinks as she can, but keeping an eye on the people that are actually in the bar. And after this couple of hours has passed and it's time for her to pay, she pulls out like a bag, not her bone bag, a different bag of coins, and attempts to pay, but like intentionally like fumbles it a little bit, like, oh, sorry, new in town. How much do I owe you?
You owe me quite a bit, love, for all those drinks. It's about 30 gold coins.
Oh, I can do that. I can do that. And she
You
like
sure you can?
I absolutely can. I've got I've got, and then she spills all of the coins onto the bar again as she kind of like looks around the room and makes eye contact with the first gray tiefling that she sees.
So I'd say you settle up your tab with the bartender, and he's like, "All right, just watch yourself out there."
Yeah, of course, I'll do that. Do you have there's an alleyway out back or something? I'm a little sick to my stomach.
Sure. Right over there. And he sort of like gestures towards one of the side doors. And I would say you see him kind of like look over at that gray tiefling who, I guess, out of your peripheral starts to get up and leaves out the front door.
Theo will go to the back to the alleyway, still with this hood up, and she's muttering to herself, talking to herself very quietly. And unbeknownst to the gray tiefling, who I can only assume will attempt to rob her, she is casting vampiric touch.
I'd say you see the tiefling come around the corner. Like, I think you might be in the wrong place, love. I think you might be, you might want to just hand over that purse. No one to get hurt. Got off a lot of coins.
No, somebody has to get hurt. Somebody always has to get hurt. You want my money? You want my money?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I am. You can have it. And she will toss it to the ground at her feet, but she doesn't run.
Easiest mark I ever found. And the person picks it up and sort of looks at you. He's like, "What are you doing? What's wrong with you? Are you supposed to run away now?"
I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you.
I don't think you're gonna hurt anyone, love.
I don't want to do what I have to do, but I will.
What?
And as the rain is coming down on Theo in this alley, she moves her hands in front of her body at this tiefling who's picking up her coins, and she is going to cast Phantasmal Killer upon him. And Adam, I'm going to ask you, what does Theo think Vigo was most afraid of?
I'd say maybe it's like starving to death on the streets.
So that is the nightmare that she brings forth into this tiefling's head. And he's tormented by these visions, these nightmares, which aren't even his own. They're what Vigo would be afraid of, what would keep him up at night. And the effort of this is starting to mess with Theo as well. And as the tiefling kind of starts to panic, maybe even falls over from kind of the weight of all of these different visions, Theo looks down the alley, down the other side, and you see the glint of her dagger up her sleeve. And she crouches down in the alleyway. She's crying, sobbing, and she says,
"What are you doing to me? It hurts.
I have to. I don't have a choice. I can't leave them alone. This was you. This was you.
What?
This isn't me. This is her, and it's you. This isn't me."
I don't understand. Who are you?
And with that, we cut back to the manor. Theo opening the door to get inside. She's abandoned the cloak that she was wearing, and you can just visibly see that she's like fighting off like a panic attack. She's shaking. Her hands are just tremoring constantly, and she looks down the hallway, down the other hallway, and starts to try and run back to her room as quickly as she can before she just loses herself completely. But on the way to get there, she has to stop outside Dull's door. She has to pass his door on the way back to her own room. And she sees it, and she recognizes it. And she's still shaking, but she like reaches under the tunic and finds the little fang that she's been wearing for more than 2 years now. And she reaches out for a moment and just like puts her forehead against the door, and her hands framed on the door, and she knocks twice.
I think it takes a few moments, but eventually Dull, you can hear heavy footfalls on the other side. And of course there's candlelight underneath the threshold of the door, and the door opens. He's standing there. Theo.
Dull.
I'd say you both notice that you both look a lot healthier right now. You both, your faces look a little more flushed. You don't look like both of you have lost as much sleep as you should have.
Is there something wrong? Did you want to come inside?
Yes, I want to come inside, and yes, I think there's a lot wrong.
More than usual?
More than usual.
Come on in. And I think he, moves out of the way. And in sort of if his office is off to the right and then his bedroom is down the hall, there is a seating area where they used to have their conversations. And the candle that that Theo left there the very first time they had these conversations over Vigo and everything is still there and still burning. Did you want to talk? Are you leaving things at my door? He looks down at the tooth that is now at the threshold.
That was just me.
It was just there.
No, it's just I lost it. I think Mortimer's playing games. He's been kind of strange recently.
You
He
see
told me
Mortimer pops up into the room. Is there anything that you need?
Mortimer, did you leave this tooth at my door?
Mortimer's gonna do an insight check on Theo. No, I did not. Would you like me to retreat?
No.
I believe
Go
this
in.
is Theo's. And he sort of pops over, picks it up, pops over back, hands it to Theo.
Yeah,
There you
Theo
are.
puts it on. Yeah, we both know I'm not great at lying, Dole. Sorry.
Getting better.
Would you need
Mort,
anything?
please, kindly get the fuck out of my room.
As you wish.
Theo looks at you, Dole, and like suddenly the most interesting thing in this room is that little spot over your left shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And Theo's just like staring at that little spot as intently as she can. And she says, yeah, I wanted to bring you something, not just the tooth that was kind of, I just had a moment outside the door, but I have something of yours that I think you should have back. And she is searching her pockets, like very clearly this is not at all why she came, but just trying to find something. And her hand in her pocket grabs the cipher, that one of the ciphers that she saw you writing some time ago, and this is like her saving grace. She pulls it out and says, I know that you were writing to Vigo. I never cracked it. I couldn't figure it out. I didn't steal it, if that's what you're thinking. I just found it in the pocket of your tunic that I stole. So here, you can have it back. I don't know what you were trying to say to him.
I was trying to say goodbye. I know that a lot of you think that I have a very interesting relationship with that man and that maybe I shouldn't have been as forgiving as I was when he did what he did, but he still taught me everything that I am. And I think that there's a lot of power in telling people what you think. And he takes the cipher and he goes over to that sitting area and sets it down. And he turns back and he points again at the fang. Do you know what it is in the Falks to give another person your tooth?
I have no idea.
It's among the fangs especially, it's a merit trading system. For the most basic premises, it's giving them your life. I know you didn't intend it that much, but it might as well be what we're saying here. I have left this candle on for you for 2 years. And it burns every night. I miss talking to you. I know that I said one too many things about what happened to us and that might have scared you away, but I don't know how many more minutes we have to dance around this thing. And he goes around his own necklace and breaks the seal off of a tooth he's been keeping with him for a very long time. And he steps over amid the candle light and extends it out to Theo. I'll hold yours if you hold mine.
Theo takes her own tooth from around her neck and places it gently in the palm and in Dul's palm and trades it for his. And she says, I wasted 2 years. We could have had 2 years. And I spent that time chasing a ghost. I'm sorry.
You don't have anything to be sorry for. Before I met you, before I met the others, I didn't have anything in my life. I had me. It is so valuable to have someone to keep a light on for.
Dul, I'm not a poet. I'm not good with words or people or anything, but I know you at least a little. And we don't have 2 years, we barely have 2 days. But if what you want is to be here, to be together until the stars come down, then that's what I want too.
Good. I think we have maybe 6 hours before they'll come get us for Veradin. And he locks the door.
Dul.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of things, so I don't know if I've done this before. And I'm sorry in advance if that's the case and I don't remember, but I've had a lot of weird shit happen lately where I don't really feel like myself.
Right.
I feel more like Theta, and I just need to know if what I'm feeling right now at this moment is this normal? Is this me? Or is this her? What I'm feeling?
I don't know either, but yes, it's normal, it's good, what we're doing is good, and if you've forgotten, I'm a very good teacher.
Okay, because right now, I kind of feel like a demon.
Oh!
Dul, can I just fucking kiss you?
Yeah.
And I think then we pan away. Oh my goodness.
So as like the morning sun comes up and that 6 hours has passed in all of its glory, is Dul asleep?
No, Dul no longer sleeps.
So Theo is curled up next to Dul, who is not sleeping, and as the sun comes up, the only sound besides like breathing is like the pitter-patter of rain on the window. And this is probably the most alive that Theo's felt, certainly the most like connected to this sort of world. And even as happy as she is, there's a part of her which is very, very sad, because she realizes the entire time that she was with Dul, there was a part of her that was hoping this would be the moment that her heart would give out.
Hey, that fucking sucks. Don't say that shit. Oh, God.
I would say we can see that in Theo's eyes as the sun comes up and sort of glitters through the glass, and we can see the light sort of reflected off of her eyes. And I would say, Dul, you look, and though you've seen many times, or you've heard many times that like Theo was created, she was quote unquote a demon, doesn't have a soul. But you look at her, how could she not? And then we cut to a different scene.
So we travel out. We spend, the first day heading towards Veradin's, and we make camp. And the next morning, when does Vetra usually get up?
Probably pretty early. She's gotten into like a training routine, wants to make sure that she has at least gotten some training in before everyone else wakes up. So pretty early.
And that's Winnie's up. early in the morning as well. It's a mix of having a little bit of trouble sleeping, but she's also an early riser. And when Winnie starts to hear Vetra get up and go to like get ready for her morning routine, Winnie, she's not even dressed in her armor yet. It's just kind of the blue and white tunic that she wears underneath. She very quickly reaches into her pack and she goes for a small package, kind of wrapped in parchment that's been kind of sealed with some twine. And she gets up very quietly, trying not to wake Dole or Theo, and will go over to Vetra. Hey, do you have a moment before you get to work?
Yeah, what's up?
I should have given this to you as soon as I got it, but Vetra, you've spent so much time looking after us and making sure that we're safe and protecting all of us, and I don't like seeing you get hurt, and I think it's time that I spend a little bit more time trying to protect you. And Winnie will very slowly open up the parchment, and we can see that there's a note. It's addressed to Winnie, and she puts that back in her pocket, and inside of it are 2 rings made of iron, and they're very simple, nothing really fancy about them other than they are just these beautiful, perfect circles of iron. This'll help keep you safe.
How?
They're connected. My time is a powerful thing, and these were worn by 2 people who loved each other a lot, and they're in my possession now, and I just, that connection, it if you wear this, I can use it to help take a little bit of the burden off your shoulders.
Vetra kind of doesn't like reach to take it, but kind of just holds out her palm. Meaning what exactly?
You don't have to be the only one putting yourself in front of things. Let me do this for you, please.
Vetra's eyes glance to Winnie's necklace and then accepts the ring.
Just
Okay.
make sure you're wearing it if we get into trouble.
Sure. And she puts it on right now.
And Winnie will put it on a matching finger.
And then we cut forward back to the drama. And we cut forward to the moment of you all arriving at this forest cottage. The camera first sees these rolling hills of green with the wind blowing through these wonderful fields of grass and these wonderful trees where the animals are sitting in the shade of the trees. It's a beautiful scene, these open skies, blue, wonderful, beautiful, with these sparse clouds you can see for miles. And you see this little cottage, quaint cottage, with a little bit of smoke coming out of the chimney. It's very cozy, almost like a grandma's cottage, with a little garden next to it. And you see that there is a little pumpkin-headed scarecrow in the in the garden, and then you hear someone sort of like playing and just like singing to themselves as you all approach this cottage, and then you see again this little gray-skinned tiefling, black hair, rainbow-colored horns sort of jump out in their little play dress that has like grass stains and like mud on it. And she's like, she turns towards you all and she's like, I want to play dragons! Wait, whoa, who are you? You all seem really tall. And she's just like walking up to you all as you are like, I guess, standing near the front of this house. And she's approaching, she has maybe like a stick in her hand. And she walks up to Winnie first. She's like, you have witty putty armor. And just starts like slapping it. And she turns over towards Vetra. She's like, I like the blades in your hair. And she looks at Theo. She says, you look like mommy. And then turns over to Doll. And she's like, ooh. And she pulls down her side of her lips, revealing like her canines. She's like, you have big fangs. You could be a princess with me. And then she turns around. She's like, who are you all? Do you want to play dragons with me? And she just kind of keeps talking.
That was so much.
Oh, but I caught it.
Yeah. We're your new friends. We're here to play dragons, among some other things. And I think Dull sort of kneels down to get on her level. Do you know where Veradin is?
Mommy?
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 Oh.
Mommy's at work. She always has to go to work. I hate work. But she's always home when we have snacks and for nap time, which is pretty soon. So if we're going to play dragons, we got to play pretty soon. So she's just like rocking on her heels. Also, quick question. As you all have arrived, in any part of any of y'all's minds, is there any aggression, violence, or anything in your hearts when you have arrived? Let me pull it back.
Who chose violence this morning?
When seeing the little girl, do you still have that in your hearts?
Oh God, no.
No.
I
Okay.
think
No.
Dull
never.
immediately recognizes what this is. He's
Okay.
putting the pieces together.
How about Winnie?
Winnie actually feels a new bout of rage well up in her when she sees this child.
Okay, then just Winnie, give me a DC 20 strength save.
That's rough.
A 5's
Right.
not going to do it.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
Five is not gonna do it.
So she's like saying all of these things. You see the pumpkin scarecrow turn towards you, and you see these like massive amounts of green vines erupt from underneath it, and it just like shoots these giant vines out in front of it and just throws you back about like 40 feet. And this just giant vines sort of come through the scarecrow, and it's just like this giant pumpkin-faced monster that is like surrounding this little girl, and he's like looking at you just as its like pumpkin head is turning around underneath, and there's like flames coming out of it. And then the little girl's like, Mr. Pumpkin, stop it! And the pumpkin stops, and it sort of like cracks and looks back over towards the little girl. What is all of your reaction during this?
I think utter absolute shock as I watch Winnie get punted. Like 40 feet is wild. That's like half a football
Probably
field.
makes like a ping sound too because of the armor.
Yeah.
And like a
Yeah. Goosh, goosh.
You
I think-
take about
There she
take 16
goes.
damage.
Damn.
14 damage.
I think originally like Vetra was reaching for the sword, but then when she sees like the kid calm the pumpkin down, basically, she just kind of chuckles and just goes over to see if Winnie's okay.
a cage of light kind of came to cushion Winnie as she fell, that ward of protective magic that she weaves around herself every morning took all of kind of the bite out of the harm that could have been done. But in the moment before Mr. Pumpkin is called away, Winnie almost snarls up, "Message received."
And the pumpkins are sort of like, as you turn back around, the vines are all gone, and it's just a scarecrow on one sort of stick, and it's just sort of standing there, but its like head of the pumpkin just sort of follows you, of this like inanimate looking scarecrow. But all of the vines have disappeared after the little girl told Mr. Pumpkin to calm down.
Thank you, buddy, for helping out my friend there. That was really nice of you to do.
Mr. Pumpkin keeps away monsters. Sometimes Mr. Pumpkin sometimes Mr. Pumpkin gets a little confused. Sometimes when puppies or strangers come, sometimes like big puppies. Like,
you know what? I have a Mr. Pumpkin too, and I turn over and I point at Vetra. That's our Mr. Pumpkin.
She walks up to Vetra, sort of like standing beneath her, looking up. She's like, your Mr. Pumpkin doesn't look as scary.
Oh, trust me. Terrifying.
And she smiles up at you, Vetra.
Vetra just smiles down.
What's
your name?
The Dwagon. She says to Vetra. I'm Woo. Sorry, Rue.
Good consonant there.
Mm-hmm.
Hard.
I'm
Rue.
Dismenes, almost.
Wow.
She holds up 3 fingers.
How are you liking old age? Do you feel old?
You're funny. I'm not old. I'm just widow. I'm a princess, actually.
You're a princess.
I like unicorns and princesses and the dragon game.
Me too.
And Mr. Pumpkin. I like your coat.
Oh, thank you. I got it from home.
Grabbing the fur a little bit. Oh, I get my dresses from home too. Mommy
Yeah?
makes me dresses sometimes when she's
That's
not at
very
work.
nice of her. 3 years, huh?
Pumpkin! Dragon game! And she sort of runs back over to the garden, and she's like, sometimes I play with the mushroom gnomes as well, also, but sometimes they want to sweep, so I can't play with them. And you see little moving mushrooms kind of walking around the garden, and they are indeed sort of like Smurf level little gnome with like mushroom heads, and there's like, and they see you all, and they're like, ah! And then they all start like running to the back of the garden, and she's like, no, it's fine, they're just playing dragons right now. Okay, so we'll play the dragons. You can be the dragon, she points at Vetra. You can be the dragon as well, points at Winnie. And she's like, you who look like mommy, you can be a dragon as well. And you points at Doll, you can be a princess with me.
Okay, I'd be
Okay,
honored.
come on.
Dull takes his coat off because he realizes we're about to like roll around in the mud and it's not gonna happen. So he takes it off and he gives it over to Theo, and then he sort of like crouches down next to Rue and awaits whatever a princess has to do.
She gets up close and she starts whispering in your ear, and she's like looking at everyone else, and she's like, I whisper. She's not saying anything.
I'm
She's
making
just
like
saying,
eye
whisper.
contact with the others, and then we start laughing together.
Okay, so what we so we're the princesses. We're gonna fight the dragons.
Okay.
But then once we win, the dragons and us become friends, and then we have a tea party.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. I'll go first. Blue dragons! You're bad. She like looks around, she's like, oh. And she like puts her hands out, she's like, this is when you're supposed to sit. Mr.
They've
Pumpkin.
never played before.
And the pumpkin's not doing anything.
All right.
He's just like, it just like moves slightly to the side. She's like, that's right, Mr. Pumpkin.
Dragons.
So then you'll be the dragons, and you'll be scary.
Are we supposed to chase you?
And then she like gets down a little bit, and she starts running away. Ah!
I just start sprinting. I just full sprint.
And I would say,
Vetra, not so fast. Let her win. I have a very ridiculous 23 with persuasion.
Okay.
And I think that Dull is one of those parents that gets obsessed with the idea of telling the story to the kid. And so he sets up these narrative plots and he's trying to like include okay, now this is happening to you, and then Vetra comes in and plays the part with it and everything. So he's halfway orchestrating the story so that she can feel like she's a part of it, and then the other half is
she's like, Mr. Gumdwop, as like different various reveals. He's like, I will sway you, but then we'll be friends afterwards.
And then the other half is unabashedly just enjoying himself, getting to play this Princess Sona for him. He's definitely putting on whatever costumes are available. He's probably got like a pink feather boa on and one of those like conical hats.
Mm-hmm.
But he spends the other half just being absolutely like best performance of his life, terrified of Theo as a dragon, like running in opposite directions, like begging for his life, just really hamming it up with her.
Hell yes.
Theo has no idea what to make of this, and every time she tries to ask Dole what's going on, he runs away from her. So Theo has no idea what to do. So I'm gonna say she's gonna try and create something. She's gonna try and make something. So she's gonna, for the first time in a very long time, I'm gonna pull out a bone from my bag and I'm gonna attempt to use my magic.
Okay.
Detecting the dead in front of the 3-year-old.
He doesn't know how to play with a child. All right. Okay. Cool. So Theo is like panicking every time she tries to ask Dole what the hell's going on. He runs away from her and acts scared. Theo's very confused. She reaches into her bag, pulls out a bone, and she like points at the little girl, and the tiny child is immediately transported up into a tree.
You cast a spell. It like reaches the target, just like completely dissipates. And I would say you look at, she has this little flower bracelet on, and you can just tell that there is like a crazy strong amount of magic coming from that thing. And it just completely negated your spell. I would say the pumpkin turns and looks at you during this and is watching you the entire time now. Unfortunately.
Can I like run over and innocently pick up Rue and be like, the dragon is casting a spell on you, and then like move her around in the air at least to simulate what shake her around a little bit to get the effect of what Theo was trying to do. Just violently like
I would also say when you go to grab her, Dole, give me a dex saving throw real quick.
Oh, you don't want this, my friend. It is done completely in jest. Dexterity saving throw, it's a 24.
Okay. You're going to like lift her up to have a good time, and then you sort of realize, maybe I shouldn't, and you step back, and a little bit of electricity sort of like just sort of like buzzes off of her for a second. She has no idea. She's having a good time. You notice again this sort of bracelet, and she's laughing, having a good time, still running around. But I feel like you're all just sort of noticing that like there is some crazy amount of protection on this little girl right now.
Okay.
And that it's probably best to like maybe from afar have fun. Unfortunately, I'm sorry that ruined the little fun mood for a second, unfortunately. But what does everyone else do?
I mean, I was hoping that I would roll a 12 and get to breathe fire and pretend to be a dragon for her, but that didn't work out.
Oh, poo.
Winnie tried to, at the beginning of the play, Winnie steps back and considers slipping away because she doesn't really want to interact with this girl, but thinks better of it after getting absolutely fucking sidelined by Mr. Pumpkin. So Winnie sticks to the sidelines, but as Dole begins weaving a more and more fantastical tale, Winnie will begin casting Minor Illusion. left and right to put a princess costume on the little girl and to make it look like Theo has breathed fire, and to make Vetra look like a big scaly dragon. And we'll kind of shift focus of the minor illusion spell to just kind of bring the things that the others are doing to life in a way that at least hopefully convinces this little girl, but also doesn't make Mr. Pumpkin bad.
Uh-huh. I would say there's like maybe these little tiny hiccups of like maybe going to like help cast a spell and like maybe going to pick up, and like Winnie's able to cover that. Well, I guess depending on how you rolled. What did you roll?
What do you want for this? Like, would you want
the
charisma or
it's up to you.
13 for performance, let's say.
Okay. Yeah, so you cover it up pretty decently. And yeah, they're still having a good time. And I would say, Vetra, what is what's the last?
Yeah, so Vetra is wanting to. I got a natural 20 on athletics for a 27. And so I want to basically be like doing all of these crazy like stunts, like jumping off trees and all kinds of stuff to just make this dragon look as cool as possible.
Hell yeah, you're jumping around and like
rolling. Yeah.
The dragon is being manifested by this magic, and it turns over, and you like hold up your sword, and she's like, wow. And after about like 15 minutes goes by, she seems she's like laying on the grass, full sprawled star on the grass, just breathing heavy. Her cheeks are flushed. It looks like she's having a good time. And she's just laughing. And it seems like she's done playing for now.
Yeah, I think that Dull is just like trying to enjoy these moments as they come to him. Before this week, I think any of these moments would just seem frivolous in the face of everything because there are such bigger things at stake. But I think what started as like, okay, we need to be here, we need to talk to this kid, has quickly turned into he's kind of lost in the moment. And I do think he stars out right next to her and just sort of enjoys the sky for a little bit and tries to see the world through eyes like hers as much as he can, ignoring how dirty his clothes have gotten.
I'd say she rolls over, is on like her little elbows, and she's like, "Where are you all from? Why are you? Who did you? What are you? Are you here to see mommy?"
I'm from a place called the Falks, which is really far away. It's on an island from here. And yeah, I came to see your mom. I don't know about the rest of us here, but we're a little family, and we like to move together. So.
I have a family.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Who's in your family?
Mom.
Yeah?
Me.
It's a good family.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mr. Pumpkin. Mr. Pumpkin. And you see Mr. Pumpkin sort of turns a little bit. She's like, "I'm sorry, Mr. Pumpkin." And you see Mr. Pumpkin starts to hop over to the door on his little scarecrow stick, hops over to the door, the front door of the cottage, and sort of like leans over, opens the door, and she's like, "Oh, it's snack time."
Okay.
And she gets up and brushes her dress off, and it's still filthy. She's like, "All right, let's go," and starts marching over to go inside of the house.
Okay, dragons. And I think Dull picks himself up. Are we all okay? Just to check in.
This is not what I was expecting when we came here. Honestly, not what I wanted to see. I'm keeping it together though.
Okay. It's not
Y'all
too
did
much.
good. I'll answer that question when Veradin shows up.
All right. Are we all thinking about her the same way that I'm thinking about her? we all know what's not being said here.
Dol, I was in a room with you and your mother for like an hour, and it took me a solid 20 minutes to realize that she was your mother,
Oh,
even though you called her mother. So,
that's fair.
what the fuck?
She bears a striking resemblance. Yes, we can all agree.
Yeah, but it doesn't change why we're here.
No. And I know that this is hard, and I don't want you to think that I'm going back to defending. I'm not. But her being from that doesn't change that she's different. We can't blame her for who her parents are. Plus, she is an excellent princess.
She sticks her head
You
out
are
the
too,
door.
Dol.
Sticks her head out the door. Are you all coming?
Yes. We're I'm fighting off the dragons, and I punch Vetra.
She scrunches her face. She's like, "We're done with the dragon, Suey," and then
Sorry?
turns around and walks back in. You see Mr. Pumpkin like magically gets shorter so that he can fit through the threshold and just sort of bounces inside of the house.
Just wild. Should we get back in there?
Yeah, no. Hopefully it's not too long before Veradin shows up. Get this over with.
I don't think she'll keep us waiting. And Del goes to move inside.
All right. So everyone is going inside of the cottage. All right. So you all walk into the cottage, and as you are walking through the threshold, you all step through the threshold. You see that it's a very cozy room in here. There's a little fireplace with a little cook pot over the fire. Looks like it's making like a soup or something like that. There's very comfy chairs. A lot of knickknacks all over this place. It looks like an old witch's house or like a grandma's with a bunch of knickknacks. And there's a wall like full of books. And like something tells you that like that gets bigger. And there's like a couple of like doors leading to other places. Very cozy and comfortable atmosphere. And you see Mr. Pumpkin is over by the cook pot, and he's like sticking the other side of his like little T cross section with a little spoon, and is like stirring the soup. And as soon as you step into the threshold, everyone needs to give me a dexterity saving throw.
Okay. Well,
if you get a
can't
20, let me know.
go
20 or
through
above.
damn doors. I did get a 20. I have a 24.
I got a 1.
Okay. All right. So only Dol succeeded. As you step through the threshold, everything seems to get really far away, as if a black hallway extends out in front of you, and you see like Rue in the room sort of like turning around a little bit curiously at why this hallway is getting really, really wide, is like creating a new space from the doorway to the rest of the house. And you all feel like you're slowly being lifted up, and what was once down is now up, and what was up is now down, and gravity reverses. And Dol, you're able to grab onto the door. Everyone else falls up, and you fall up about just about 20 feet right to the ceiling. You each take 9 damage as you boom hit the ceiling, except for Dol, who is grabbed onto the doorway. And I would like everyone who has hit the ceiling to give me a wisdom save. Let me know if you get a 22 or above. Okay, it seems like not. As you hit the ceiling, you see that there's these blue runes that you boom run into. They light up, and you see these like blue light cages sort of like illuminate around you for a second, and then they disappear, as if you were just seeing that for a moment, and then you all fall into a sleep. Besides Dol. Dol, you are still grabbing onto the doorway, and I would say you're just hanging there. What would you like to do?
Do they look Like they're breathing? Do I get the
Yes.
sense that they're gonna die up there?
No. This looks like it is a like. Give me some sort of intelligence or maybe Arcana, some sort of roll.
Can I go with insight?
Yeah, or that.
25.
You get the feeling that this is a magic person's prepared like home defense system.
Okay. This is just to keep them engaged until Veradin comes back to investigate who tried.
Yes. And a little bit of a kernel makes you think about all of the things that you would be facing going into Tom's tower.
Yeah.
This makes you think of that. But as you're holding on, you hear a crack of lightning sort of like strike in the house, but the line stays there, this blue line. Rue, you can see, as it's so far away down this hallway, you can see Rue look over towards it, but like non-surprised at all. She actually looks happy. And then the lightning bolt thickens and spreads out, and it looks like there's like a cold wind or like storm coming from within this lightning bolt, and then a woman steps out. A woman in all black, of a like very much a goth witch looking person steps out. Human, black hair. She looks a little bit cold. She's holding a lantern that does not have a fire in it, and then she turns around and the lightning strike reverses, and then goes into the lantern. As it like is sitting inside of there, and then she like moves her hand. The lantern disappears. The hallway is getting shorter and shorter again, so you're getting closer to this scene, and she looks over at all of you and sort of like looks up at the ceiling, looks over at you, and though she's staring at you all, she's like, "Hello, Peach." And the little Rue is like, "Mommy!" And she runs over and hugs her legs. She's like, "How are you, dear?" And she leans down and gives her daughter a hug, and she sort of snaps, and the people on the ceiling, you are now awake, and the cage has moved from around you to your wrists and pulls it to the back, and then you descend down from the ceiling, boom, land on the floor, front door shuts, the gravity is back to normal dull, so you're, I guess, just standing there. And everyone who failed those checks, you are sitting in a chair with like basically magic handcuffs on the back of your hands, and you're sitting in this room.
I think I'm going to present my wrists as if to be cuffed to Veradin and say, "We apologize for entering without your consent, but Rue invited us to snack time."
She acknowledges you, but she's still talking with Rue, and she like kneels down. She's like, "How was your day? Was everything fun?" She's like, "We played dragons, and then I went with the mushroom gnomes, and we built an underground castle." And she's like, "That's wonderful. I love that." And she's like, just like listening to her day from her daughter, just like waiting. She's like spending the time with her, even though you all are sitting there and waiting. She spends the time. She's like, "All right, I'm going to talk to our guests really quickly, and then I'll come in and read you a story." And she's like, "Okay." And then you see Mr. Pumpkin turn around and has a plate with like various snacks on it. She's like, "Peanut butter!" And then runs off with Mr. Pumpkin into another room. And Veradin turns towards you. She waves her hands, and a similar thing happens to you, doll. Especially since you allowed it to happen, you don't have to make those saves. And she starts to walk over to the wall of books. She says, "Well, it's very interesting, the Knights of Nemeria. It's been some time since I've seen you. I think it was about 2 years ago, I think. It's very interesting, very strange to have you here, especially having kidnapped K.o.N and going to go and kill all of the heroes. I think that's what Tom told me." And she's like looking around. She's like, "So, unless you have a good explanation, you'd like to tell me what K.o.N is, or if you have a good suggestion for a story, a midday story, something that won't keep her up, she does need to take her nap, then I think I might have to send you on your way. No, not that one.
You could always read her the parable of the stargazer, a man who sought immortality and then brought down the stars.
Prince of Stars is way too dark. I can read that in the middle of the day. It's a bad suggestion.
Yes.
But it is timely. Anyways,
How's
we
that?
captured the king. That's I don't remember doing that.
Yeah, news to us.
But
Yeah.
honestly, if we were coming for all of the heroes, starting with you would be a very bold choice.
Well, it is rather strange, but I'm not quite convinced yet. When a dear friend tells me something is happening, I tend to believe them, but I also haven't been here, so unless you have some sort of way of proving what you say...
Are there mirrors in this house?
Yes, there are.
I immediately just kind of catch everyone's attention and just start nodding to the mirrors.
We could have that conversation, but not in any presence of Tom. You'd have to remove the mirrors.
All of them.
She sort of squints. Tom's not here.
Well, in any room there's a reflective surface, he could very well be here. That's how he...
She, like, looks at you for a second, and give me a persuasion, doll. I would say with advantage, because everyone else is reacting the same way.
The first is a 23, and the second is a natural 1, so we're going to keep the 23.
So she looks at you, and she's like... And she, like, looks over at the mirrors, like... She looks offended. And she moves her hands, and the mirrors just pop out of existence.
If it's any consolation, we didn't think of it either.
And we're paying the price for that.
That was all of them? You're sure?
That's all in this
Even
room.
reflective surfaces should go, if we're being honest. So disappear pots and pans from the kitchen, or any piece of metal that's polished that you can see any amount of reflection in.
Or any gift that Tom has given you.
She's like, I appreciate the heads up, but I'm still not hearing anything convincing enough.
It's not a heads up for you. Just so
She
you're aware.
snaps her fingers, and a silent spell is cast around your head. She's like, I
Listen,
don't appreciate that in my house.
the fact that we're alive this far tells me that you have stronger doubts than just a suspicion. You could have very well killed us, and if you believed what Tom was saying about you, we wouldn't have been put in cages around your child. We would have been dead. We also wouldn't have been allowed to play. I imagine you have some level of surveillance on this place, enough that you know as soon as we arrived you would have had us dead. So you must believe something about our side of things.
She moves her hands. You see her eyes glow for a second. She looks at you. She says, you don't have enough strength or power to even touch my daughter through all the levels of enchantments. I'm not worried about her protection, but it is bold that you came here in the first place.
We have nowhere else to go. You're one of our last solutions, and we are running out of time.
I'm still not quite hearing exactly why I should believe you.
Before we make a case, actually, what did you hear of us capturing the king? How exactly did that story go, or were you just told we captured the king and we're holding him somewhere?
She sort of looks up the air. She waves her hand. You see a little spell, almost like in circles around her head, and she sort of like is looking at something that's not there. And she's like, "Yes, I believe he said something about. He said that you might be coming this way. That there's a problem with the Knights of Nemeria. They're trying to kill the heroes of old, and I have to deal with the giant rebellion and all these other things in the other planes of existence. I have so many things to do with the squids, amongst all of the things, and I wasn't really listening. But the heroes, you kidnapped K.o.N, You look like you want to say something. She moves the silent spell over Vetra's head.
I think Vetra's mouth has been moving too, a series of like, we don't have time for this, and just all kinds of things. So when it comes back, I think in the middle of a sentence, gonna matter if we don't do this in 2 days. We don't have time to sit here and explain everything over again. We just need you to just listen to us.
Well, I have an alternative to this that I think would probably suit you, Veradin. This is of your own magic making. And would you allow me to reach into my pocket here? There's a stone in there I'm going to take out. It has no magical properties outside of...
She moves her hand and takes the stone out for you.
Good. She finds a rune that she's going to find very familiar. Now, this is, of course, cast in the Falkian magics, so it's not one of her own make. She's going to recognize that immediately. It is sort of that cursed magic. But this is a stone used for the spell Zone of Truth.
Okay.
And he speaks aloud. He says, I think everyone in this room would be willing to voluntarily offer ourselves to the stone. In order to tell you everything that we know is truth. And you understand the only way that we could be lying in that circumstance is if someone implanted memories in ourselves enough to believe it, which you already know we're not strong enough to do.
Winnie actually grunts a little bit at that.
I shoot Winnie a look that says, please,
no,
not now.
I will subject myself to the stone. It's fine. Can we do this? And she looks at Veradin.
I would say she looks at all of you. She's like, very well. And she moves the stone back to your pocket, casts the spell herself.
Okay.
Do you all voluntarily fail the save?
Yes.
I do.
Cool. She casts it. She's like, all right, you have 2 minutes.
Should we put out the candles for this as well? Or should we allow Tom to hear us? Just in case.
I think Veradin could probably take care of that herself if she wanted to.
I would say that she is pretty irritated that the mirrors might have been a way that he was spying on her. So she, you see her sort of irritatedly, she moves her hands and like a little black sort of like two-dimensional spot opens and an orb sort of like, or no, a crystal floats out of it, and it has all these weird symbols sort of like floating around it, and she like touches it, says some things, casts a spell, and you see a string attached to this little crystal, and then it goes back into the darkness and it shuts. I would say
what
Winnie,
spell did she cast?
You know, well, she cast that spell, the domain protection or whatever thing, the sanctuary. But that thing that she pulled out is a spell wheel, which is basically for like wizard, sorcerer, magic people for their lair. It's like an epicenter for all of the spells and enchantments they have cast on their lair. So it's like a good way to go and like manipulate it, change spells, add spells, that kind of thing. It's kind of like a hub for all of the spells and enchantments that's on their layer. So she's added a new one, and then
is there an assumption that Tom would have one of these as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And Winnie looks at it with familiarity because she's been working on something similar for the manor.
Awesome. So she does that, and she says, "Now we will be perfectly fine."
Well, we brought up the parable for a reason. Tom was neglected at a heroes meeting with King K.o.N years ago, where he suggested to all of you that he look into the idea of immortality for all heroes. You all voted no, or at least I hope everyone did. But he walked away opposed. It was believed that he stopped that research after being denied by all of you, but that's false. He continued to research, to create, to follow in the footsteps of that lie, in an effort to, in the same as the parable, become a man without death. to give everyone the power over death. We believe that he's very close, as we were confronted by members of a plane that we do not understand, whose power is over death, who warned us that he was breaking the natural order of this world and would bring about the death of the stars.
He had broken the one law.
The one law.
When you say that, she sort of like looks over at Winnie, and you see some sort of like realization in her mind, not at Winnie, but at what Winnie said. And she's like, what do they look like? And you see that she blows off of her hand, and like smoke appears, and it appears in almost like, it looks like a mirror or a window, but it's like a mirror and a window into like a minor image or something like that, an illusion. And it's a shot of a really far away shot, almost like kind of like a Bigfoot shot of one of those wraiths sort of like disappearing back into a forest, but it's like very far away, so it's like not good detail, you can't quite make it out. And she like shows you this.
That's exactly them. It's just much farther away than they were than us.
And this was caused by Tom's research.
Yes, we were investigating Orly, the cleric. She was turned into something, we believe, by Tom and his magics. And they appeared to assist us in rectifying that mistake.
This makes sense. Yes, this does. She's just like, it looks like she's talking to herself. She's like, this makes sense. At the same time, if we denied him that means he must have continued the immortality research, and that means that all those things that I've been finding, those holes in our plane, must be from them. That means that's the connection. And so she's talking. She turns. She's like, "Yes, I've seen that thing, those wraiths that you talked about. They're called the Keepers of the Veil. I believe that they are." After we die, there is an in-between place. Between life and death, a limbo, in between the afterlife, the Passover place, something like that. I believe they are the keepers, death, something. They are, in the story that you mentioned, she like moves her hand, the book sort of like slides out, and from other research that I've done, near-death experiences, people have seen these, but they've been seeing them more as of late. In the past few years, they've been seeing them not from people who has near-death experience, not people that is a bad omen that are going to die. There's been reports of them being seen everywhere. And that's what I've been trying to find. I've been searching through other planes of existence to try to find meanings, and I've been getting so close, but I cannot get there because there's a problem. They're presenting problems.
So
this is caused by Tom.
These beings are of a place between life and death, and they've become increasingly present in our world. Could
Yes.
that be signs that we're bleeding into their realm? That we are becoming a place between life and death?
Perhaps, but I don't think it's gone to that transition yet. I believe
we have 2 days.
2 days.
That's what
Why
the
is
wraiths
that?
told us. 10 days from the moment we met them. If we did not bring Tom to them, then the end of all things, I suppose.
Because he's broken
The
the
stars
law.
will fall and the oceans will dry and the sky will return to nothing. And soon, this will all just be nothing.
And that includes Rue.
She looks over at you when you say that,
I know.
and she does not appreciate even the hint or the suggestion.
I
Vetra
agree.
uses that to kind of speak up for a moment. Where could Tom go to hide? The wraiths want him. That means they can't get to him. Where is he hiding?
She looks very mad, and she reluctantly raises her hand, and a mirror appears just for a second, and then she drops her hand and the mirror disappears again. I made that mirror for him. We made it together. But it seems as if he has discovered some other uses that I did not anticipate. A clever old bastard. This whole time I've been searching in other planes for the answer to this when I never thought to look in my own. Damn it. He's hiding inside of his mirror. It is a place... I've been very careful. Sorry, there are other worlds and other planes. Spoilers. But I've been closely guarding the ways to travel in between these planes, in between these places. But it seems I gave Tom one sort of way in between it. It's not exactly a way to go to another place, but it's a way in between. So I gave that to him as a gift, a present. It protects you. You can... Didn't realize you could see through other mirrors. That must be something that he has discovered. But it is not exactly here. It's not exactly there. It's sort of like that limbo, that Shadowlands in between place. Exactly. And if the Keepers of the Veil, if the Knights of Death can't find him, that's where he is, because it's not a place that they would ever be. It is an artificial place. So he must be hiding there.
So that
It's a
mirror,
place
is
we
it
need-
Yes.
specific to him? Or can anyone go into that mirror?
Anyone who knows the spell, but it is that specific mirror. It is like the mouth of a river.
Right.
Teach me how to navigate that river. We need to go get Tom, and if that's where he is, we need to know how to get in and out and navigate and not get lost.
Wait, what happens if we destroy the mirror while he's inside of it?
Well, then he'll have nowhere else to go. Honestly, I think... Honestly, that seems to be the most reasonable plan in my head. Going inside as one other's domain is almost like entering one's house, and she gestures at you all, sort of like change to these chairs. If we are to break it, then he will have nowhere to escape to. So he will be forced out. I'm sure he has a countermeasure somewhere, but at least he can be targeted. He can...
So if the mirror was broken, he'd be forced to return to this plane.
Yes. At least that's the theory.
All right, that's... I would have guessed that he'd be stuck inside with no way to get out if the mirror acts as the way that he navigates the river. You have no more boat, you can't get across. Are you sure that breaking it would cast him out?
Isn't it also that the mirror is the river, right?
It was a poor analogy. And it looks like she's sort of thinking...
If you think breaking the mirror, you made it. Tom's figured out some other uses for it, but if you think breaking it will force him out...
As long as the mirror exists, there is this in-between place. When the mirror is gone, it will cease to be. So he will either remain and be destroyed, or he will be forced to exit. There is no other of its kind, and we made it together, so it seems... If the mirror is to be destroyed, he will be pushed out.
Does it empty out into the same place that the wraiths came from?
Say that again?
Does the mirror empty out into the same place the wraiths come from? Are they hidden on the same plane?
Is this in between limbo?
No, it is a different place. It is artificial. This limbo, the Shadowlands, that is a real place, somewhere I've never been able to go. I've heard stories of it, but it is an impossible place to reach.
There was a tower there.
What?
There was a tower in the Shadowlands, and I was just thinking that maybe that's what he made on the other side of the mirror. But if they're not connected, if they don't feed out into the same plane, then that must just be something the Wraiths work back to.
Theo, since there's so few stories of this place, you believe that the dagger is the only way to get to this place for like a living being, unless you are one of those wraiths, basically. like that, I'd say with certainty, you can feel that this is the only way to get there.
And he has
for a
one, right?
living person. He has something else.
Uh,
The dagger that what you know of the dagger that Tom has created, it is to make people immortal specifically, but he keeps having to change it and alter it because it hasn't been working. Tom appeared to you all in K.o.N's room, but he was reflective a little bit. He was shiny. You can assume that he has some way of exiting the mirror. You think of glass golems, which are sort of constructs, and basically he could probably inhabit one of those and leave, but he wouldn't be able to, like, since he's communicating through realms, he wouldn't be able to use like his full power through one of these, but it will 100% protect him as long as he is inside one of these glass golems. They are destroyed, goes right back to the mirror, or he goes into a different glass golem. It seems as if the most straightforward thing, what you think, is he goes inside of the mirror, he has learned some way to see all other mirrors, and to like hear and listen through them, and then has some way of like moving his soul or his body into these glass golems, but he is safe as long as the mirror is intact, the original one.
Okay.
So that is what you can infer.
You've all heard of Everbottom bags, right?
Yeah.
Little piece of magic. It kind of has its own little dimension in there, but this kind of magic is small potatoes in comparison to this mirror. And when he looks at Veradin as she explains this to the others, I think it sounds like the mirror is in and of itself a piece of magic that has manifested a dimension or whatever the case may be, but it's unique to the mirror. It's just like if I were to destroy an Everbottom bag, it kind of throws up everything that was inside of it. It sounds like that's how this works. It would throw up Tom and hopefully into our blades.
A similar principle, I think, is applied. Yes.
Okay.
So we get into the tower, we bypass the wards, we climb to the highest point, we break the mirror, he comes through, and then we end him using the wraiths.
So it seems you've already got a plan, then.
You're a piece of it, Veradin. Don't feel left out.
Oh no, I'm perfectly fine.
All of these protection things, can you do some for us? Or do you have some way to limit Tom's power at all?
She starts to pace around, and it looks like she's thinking for a while. And she stops.
Can we get rid of these while you think?
She looks over and she like moves her hand, and they release. The chairs sort of dissipate once you stand up. If Tom has been planning this for a long time, that means that he's had time to prepare, especially since he's sent you to me.
Yes.
If I act in any sort of way that is not murdering you all, then he's going to know. So he no doubt
knows.
Prepared, exactly. There is one possibility, but it's going to be difficult for you, but it can work. There's a place, it is a labyrinth of sorts, and if you want to get to the end of it, the being who inhabits it will reward you a boon.
Okay.
I do not have the power to do such, but perhaps the things that I have, the time that we have, if you say that it is indeed 2 days, I have no time to make such a thing, and I do not have one.
So
she looks a little bit sad. She looks a little bit sad, and she looks out. She's like, I've never had to fight another magic user.
What?
I've had to before.
Well, Veradin, you need to prepare yourself, because there's no doubt that once this spell ends, once this conversation ends, that Tom will use Rue against you in every way that he can. He knows that he can't go up against you, but there's odds are that will be his
she like
target.
darkens her face. She's like, Rue will be perfectly safe, I can assure you.
Good.
And she just like looks off, and you see that she's like thinking. She's like, yes, I think I'll bring her there. I know it must be done. It all just seems so strange. A day ago, I guess I've been away too long.
Made a nice little life for yourself here.
Yes, I did. Just so many things to do. Past few years have just flown by. When you're off saving other worlds, you just sometimes neglect your own, I guess.
You were just cleaning up Tom's messes. You're trying your best. These things happen.
He can't go other places. This is just me trying to be the hero. When you have to do it all yourself, it's very, very difficult when you have to do it yet again.
And yet you don't have time to go clean up any of your own messes?
She sort of squints at you. She's like, what are you saying?
You say you've been wandering around trying to save other planes and clean up after other people, but you've left a bunch of messes of your own behind. Or have you forgotten about those?
I'd say she looks at you. What is she seeing on Winnie's face?
Anger, hurt, redness around the eyes, and her hands are shaking. Because this has not gone how Winnie thought that it would. And even then, Winnie didn't really know what she wanted. She's been looking for Veradin she's been looking for someone for a long time, and it's been in the last 2 years that she realized that person she's been looking for is Veradin, and now she's here with her, and it sucks to need her help. It's humbling in a way that she hates, but Winnie can't quite help herself.
She looks at you for a minute, and you see a little bit of understanding in her eyes. When was it?
About 5 years ago. 6 maybe, I don't know. Time certainly goes by faster than you think it does. That cloud's still there. Poison and everything near it. People are still sick from it.
She thinks for a little while. I'd like to tell you that I'm sorry. But I'm not. To be completely honest, I was young, foolish.
I don't care. Honestly, I don't give a shit about your excuses. I don't care why. You made a choice, right? Collateral damage. It was fine. You did what you needed to do.
Would you
That's
prefer I
great.
did not save them? Would you
I
prefer
just
the
want you to-
dragons descended upon the entire kingdom and killed everyone?
I've thought a long time about this, and honestly, I don't care about what
It seems like you
your
do.
perspective is. I just want to know. I've gone back so many times to try and fix it. I've tried so many times to get rid of that fucking cloud, to remove this stain Not just from the land, but what just the lasting impact that it's had on the people there. They hate magic. They're terrified of it. And how could they not be? Right? Someone masquerading as a hero comes and turns everything to shit. Yeah, they're not dead, but just tell me how to fix it, please. I just want to fix it.
She looks around and seems a little confused. And where is it?
Would you even know the name of the town if I said it?
Probably not.
You don't remember?
No. Tell me where it is.
Little town on the edge of Edoras, called Almhearth. About
The
50
first few years of the
sheep for
campaign.
every one person.
She moves her hand and you see that she's like looking on at that area. There is something. Huh. Must have been the combination of the dragons and... She sort of like shuts it. It looks like she didn't know that her magic did that. After this is done, I'll do what I can. I did not realize that.
People are afraid of us, afraid of what we can do because of things like that.
They're right to be.
It's a burden that we bear. It seems that that is the burden that you all bear as well.
But it's not just about some sacred purpose we give ourselves so we can feel terrible about what we've done after we've done it. We need to put in restrictions. Tom got this way. Almhurst got that way because we decided that the way we felt internally was more important than the hurt we were doing worldwide. We tried to tell you this 2 years
understand
ago.
why all of these people like you, all of these up-and-coming heroes, there's always something that we're doing wrong. We were just heroes. We were not people that understood how to lead. We were the first kind, and we didn't know any better. I'm not going to explain myself to you. I feel bad, yes I do, and I would like to do better, but I'm only one person.
You know,
You
you
don't
had
have-
me. You had me for a minute with that. You had me for just a fucking minute with the one person that is trying so hard. And then you turn around and you're just like all the others.
Yes, I am just human, like everyone else, and I'm only one person. Yes, I might be the first person that had the magic, but
you don't
I
have to be. We came here together, the four of us, and made a decision to watch the others, just like you did in the beginning, and we have all made a conscious effort to be better, Veradin, and that is where we stopped. You gave up on that, of talking with people, of working with them, with understanding that there is a shared common goal to everyone trying to accomplish. You decided you were bigger than that, better than that. That is where we end, and that is why every younger generation decides. Because at one point, you gave up.
If you don't believe this coming from us, would you believe it coming from Vigo?
she looks over at you very darkly. She's, do not say that name in my house.
No, I think it's time to start talking about him.
If
Yeah,
anyone
no,
has
Vigo.
earned that name, it's us.
Everyone needs to give me a intelligence saving throw.
Can Winnie counterspell?
You can try.
It will take a roll, I'm sure. So Winnie will try to kind of seeing the threads of magic as far as she sees it that Veradin is trying to spin together. Winnie is going to attempt to snatch it out of the air, just straight up grab the spell before it is cast.
Mm-hmm.
K.o. 26.
Okay.
You just stopped a fucking 9th level spell.
And so can Winnie grab it and just like throws it to the ground?
It was basically she was going to like push you out and like push you somewhere away from her. But yeah, you grab the spell out of the air, and she's shocked at this.
Let us not. You know what? I'm sorry. I haven't broke this. I'm sorry. I brought it up. Let's. I mean, they're right. Right? It's time we talk about this, and maybe you're the person we're supposed to be talking to. Let's not give in to our worst instincts. Let's not fight and disagree with one another when I think we do actually want the same things, even though we all have reasons to be mad. I think before we all got a bit up in arms. Theo, you're gonna say something?
Veradin, you're not the only person with power here. You might not even really be the strongest person here. And frankly, you don't have much of a choice in this. Dol, give me the cryptex, give me the stone.
I hand it over.
I'm calling Vigo.
What?
And I will. It's a stone, right? So I hold it to my mouth and I whisper to it, and I hold it out in my palm.
As soon as you touch it, it like disintegrates, and it turns into a translucent blue form of Vigo. Specifically Vigo from 2 years ago. You see this gray tiefling with little horns, and he is like looking at you, Theo, and it seems like I'll just say that you can figure this out, that it seems like he can only see you.
Vetra steps as far away as she can without leaving the room.
I hit him with my magic dagger.
Goes right through.
Shit.
I guess things didn't go well.
This isn't about you. This isn't about me. This isn't about us. We're at the end of the line. Dol's dying. I'm dying. What do we need to do? What do I need to tell your wife to convince her that we're telling the truth, that Winnie is... Winnie, I need your help. Whatever was not between you and me, it doesn't fucking matter. I just need something that I can tell Veradin to convince her to help and to mend whatever is broken there.
I look to Veradin and then move behind Theo, put a hand on Theo's shoulder and sort of hold her there, and then call Veradin over. I think you should come see him.
I'd say Veradin is like, she has like mad tears, but she's just sort of staring at the back of him, and has not moved. Vigo stops for a while. So you told them. So that means he knows.
Tom.
Yeah.
No, he knows we're coming. He knows we're onto him. We fucked up. But he doesn't know that Veradin could help us yet. We took as many precautions as we could here. But I am dying. Dol is dying. Please. And in the letter you wrote me, you talked about gentle pain. There is nothing gentle about what you have put us through. But if you have ever felt anything at all for him, or for me, or Winnie, or Vetra, you will give me what I fucking need. And you're the only person who can. How do I explain to your wife and your daughter that you let the stars come down around them, that you let the world end?
You see him look up. I have a daughter.
She looks just like you.
What? What does she look like?
Like
Gray.
a princess.
You should see her horns. You'd hate it. In the best way.
It seems as if he can't hear you, Dol. It seems as if he can only hear Theo.
Dol says that you should
No,
see her
it's
horns.
fine, Theo. Let him talk to you.
And you went to her. And now she's in danger.
Everyone's in danger. Nothing's been the same since you left.
So it worked.
What worked? You need to stop talking cryptically. You know I can't understand that.
I gave you all. Everything I had. I didn't know what I was doing. It was as fast as I could go. It started with Tom wanting to help. It started with me. The immortality, and I thought if I could... It didn't matter, he's my friend. It worked. Strange. But then he wanted to keep going because it wasn't quite right. So he went to K.o.N. And it turned out he trails off. And I knew I lost my friend at that moment. He wasn't going to come back. So I had to figure out some way to stop him. He threatened K.o.N. He threatened Veradin. So I tried to make a plan. For some reason, he couldn't see me as well as he could have before I was this. He gestures at himself. He got things wrong, as if I was blurry when he tried to spy on me. I had this new ability to make demons. So I had to plan something, and wasn't the best. But again, I'm only a tiefling. And so we tried, and then I made the last one, and I made you. I was a bit sentimental in the moment, I'll admit. And that's... I'm sorry for that.
What sentiment?
You look through Vigo and you see how similar you look to Veradin. The world is cruel. It's always been cruel to me and to everyone else. I never thought that I'd have children, but I wanted it to be better. But I knew what I was asking would be just as cruel. So I made you, and I lied. You don't deserve that. And then again, no one deserves any of this. I made you to be hard to spy on. I guess that didn't quite work.
One more thing. Two more things, I guess. Do you know how we stopped Tom? Do you have any idea?
He smiles and sort of kind of looks out. He's like, I was hoping to give you the time to figure that out.
I spent that time looking for you.
You shouldn't have.
What do I tell Dull and Veradin and your daughter?
Am I still alive?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think if you were, I would have found you.
It looks like he's kind of panicking for the words because you know that you don't have that much time with this copy. No one was ever kind to me in this world except for Tom, Veradin, Edelard. They were my friends. And I didn't have children, didn't want them. I come to think of you all, I didn't.
Rue. Her name is Rue, your daughter.
And he smiles. And it looks like it might have been like an inside thing between Veradin and Vigo. It's what we hoped for. Hopefully you can still get it.
Get what?
Peace. And you know that the spelling of Rue's name is R-U-H-E. And let's just say in one of the languages of the world that means peace. Not Rue as in ruin, but Rua. And something different.
As Vigo says this, Thea reaches in front of her and just kind of banishes the blue spirit with her hand. as quickly as she can, but she says out loud, "I'll see you soon."
I say, as you're swiping at him, he's like, please save them. Please do what we couldn't. You swipe him away. And you see that Veradin is turned away. She's like back to you all, and you can just see like her shoulders up and down. She is sobbing very heavily. And I'd say you see little Rue coming out of her room, sort of like holding the doorway. She's like, "Mommy, we gonna read the story?" And Baron's like, yes, my peach. I'll be right there, right there. One moment, Mommy's has to say goodbye to her guests. Veradin takes a minute to compose herself. As Rue has just exited, gone back into the room, you see that Veradin sort of slowly shuts the door with magic. And she's just sort of staring at the fireplace.
You've got a story to tell, so I guess I'll cut to the chase a bit. We need... two things come to mind right now. The first is a way to break the mirror, something powerful enough to do so. I have an idea on how we might be able to do that, but I'm also open to any suggestions from you. And the other is we need something, a way to protect ourselves when we go into Tom's tower, because if the protections around your place are any indication of what Tom has cooked up to keep him safe, especially since he knows we're coming, then yeah, we're gonna need all the help we can get. I mean, you said there was a labyrinth we can go to and get some kind of boon, but I don't know if we have time for that. We've got about 3 days left.
She like turns around to face all of you, and she looks very, very mad. And she's like, whatever you need, we're going to get it. And she's like, I'm going to go prepare. I'm going to get my daughter somewhere safe. And we're going to kill him. And she's like, just sort of turns around. She's like, the labyrinth is a place. It has strange things with time. I can get you close to the end.
And you
will
have confidence
enough time.
that, all right, that's good enough for me.
We all did it once. It wasn't that difficult. And she's sort of like looks off and shakes her head a little bit. I'm going to go read my daughter a story. If there's anything you need, I'll try to help. Go get that boon. You can get to the castle where Tom is. Disable that spell wheel. Obviously you have some way of getting inside, don't you?
We do.
You can disable that spell wheel. I'll be there.
Once we finish the labyrinth.
Just when that's down, I can be inside.
When we finish the labyrinth, because we will, we'll get that boon. We're gonna need a way to get back to the manor. Quick. I can't.
Can I help with that?
Yes, please.
It has a way of getting you where you need to be. But if it's not, then I'll help. Now, is there anything else?
Can I read that story with you?
And she looks at you. Who are you?
Vigo's nephew.
Yes, you may join. And she pauses and walks towards the door, and you realize that she has forgotten a book. What book do you go and pick up off of the library wall, Dol, to go and read to Little Rue? We can make up whatever it is. It can also be a classic fairy tale or something, but what book do you choose to read to Rue?
I think that I pick up a book that was written shortly after the war, and it is sort of poised after Children, but it is a tale of the original 13 heroes, the original group of Veradin and Vigo and all of them, Davith, all of them, when they were loved.
I'd say at some point in the reading of the story, Veradin points at Vigo on one of the pages. She says, "That's your daddy." And Rue just doesn't, she doesn't skip a beat. She's like, "Ah!" and just like really just like asking all the questions in the world about him and just having a real good time.
I take Veradin aside after the story, and I say, I didn't know how important you were to him. He never intimated, but I'm sure that's no surprise to you.
No.
I'm sure he never spoke of me either, especially knowing my origin.
He actually did.
I don't know if that makes me feel better or worse. But
he, though he would never admit it, he was proud of the Knights of Nemeria and what they did. Though on paper what happened obviously painted it in a different picture, but the world was very cruel to Vigo. He grew up on the streets and
yes,
read a kind word. Grew up very cold. His only friends in the world were us, the inner circle, I guess is what you would call it. Though, he would never admit it, he did not have much moral compass, but what he always did was to protect his friends. But he did mention you.
you were there when it all ended 2 years ago, in the ruins of that castle.
Yes, I was.
There was something that was left there that I'm sure you're the only one that still has any possession of. I want to ask you if I can take it.
She looks... You might have trouble, but it might come in use to you. And I would say she does give it to you.
Okay.
But it is broken. But something tells you, like, it's like the hilt or like half of the blade is broken.
Mm-hmm.
But something tells you there's more to this sword. More to the famous Blackthorn. To Vigo's sword. But right now it's broken.
I'm okay with it in pieces. I'm okay with finding out whatever more is. But I do think that Dull slings it into the side of his belt and keeps it in the same side that Vigo would. Which, of course, is his offhand, meaning that Dull is probably less proficient this way, but feels right.
I think when Veradin comes out, maybe to finally say goodbye to us, Winnie will. She's been looking around, maybe hoping that there's something, and doesn't find it, and realizes that Veradin's magic comes to her very differently than how Winnie's magic comes to her, kind of from both different sources.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know of I can reach out to people's minds, right? I can send you a message, right, from far away if
Yes.
I need to, but I
It's a
don't
simple
have a
spell.
way of reaching across. If I wanted to reach into limbo, I don't think I could.
Well, that would make two of us.
What do you know of I just, if there's any way you could transcribe or share everything you know about spells that contact or reach out to other people, that might help me put together something that could help.
You see a little smile start. She's like, right, because one of them talked to you. And she gets, I would say, there's a very like nerdy moment between the two of you where she's like, kind of like, yes, but if it's not, and she like pretty much explains it to you without writing it down, basically explaining the spell that you need to you. So basically, you are able to transcribe it onto your little wizard's tome.
Yeah, Winnie pulls out her spell book, kind of moves that enhancement bookmark to a new page, and transcribes as much of what Veradin can say so that she can go and make a bit more sense of it later. Because there's a very specific there's a very specific spell she's trying to understand in her mind, but right now it's a little bit too big to grab all at once, but she's close to it.
Cool.
And she shuts her book and reholsters it on her hip. You'll go back and help, right?
She looks, she's like, it's been a long time since I have stopped to look down. I think I should do a lot more of that going forward. Yes. And I would say she sort of reaches out to grab your hand.
Winnie hesitates. Once again, the edges of her eyes pretty red. But eventually she reaches out and touches Veradin.
And she kind of just like holds your hand, and that's when she says, yes. And lets go of it and turns away, and she's like, all right then, I guess you're all ready to go?
Sure.
Then let's get to it then. And she pulls out the lantern out of the out of a liminal space, and then you see the lightning crack happen, opens this little crack into the world, and I would say you all fall into it, and the crack disappears, and you all fall into a new place, and you see that you are in this very old looking, almost seems like a very long hallway with several doors. Very, very large, very big, old stones, ivy. There's light coming through what seems to be like a canopy overhead, but it's very hazy, foggy light coming in. It seems like a different place, separate from the world that you all know. But behind you, there's many, 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 many doors, but there's a hole that have been blasted through all of these doors, and it reaches up actually past a couple of doors in front of you, and it leads to a very big door. And as you walk through these different spaces that are all just like very dark, and they have like a little bit of mist on the floor, almost like a dream when you go into these different rooms, but it's like the magic is slowly seeping away from what once was in this area. And as you reach the final door, there's this big scorch mark on this giant door that has these really big handles and knockers on this really old wood, and it has all these fancy, strange-looking runes, not ones that you would recognize. It seems they almost seem alien. And there's this big scorch mark, as if some great magic was performed here, but the doors did not yield. And you see written on the doors in a language you can understand. It seems a very, very old dialect, almost like Old English, and you sort of translate it to mean that there is a test, and at the end of the test, you will either be rewarded a boon, or you will be dead. And underneath it says like, do you accept, or do you wish to continue? And you get the feeling that you have to like vocalize, like say something. And that's where you all find yourself after all of this.
Well, she left out that part.
Mm. Well, Theo, how do you feel about if we fail this, we die? What's the thought here? Are we all scared?
Not scared.
Okay, I figured not. Vetra, okay? Dying?
We signed up for that the moment. And then she just stops.
Winnie, how do you feel
No.
about dying?
Not here. And fuck, on another day, I would have loved solving whatever shit's going on with those doors.
Yes. I wish we had more time with this one.
I kind of want to come back at the beginning, but we do not just, I mean, no to dying now, but yes to doing this shit.
Once Tom is dead, we'll come back and we'll take on this labyrinth for real.
When Tom is dead, that's going to be the new toast. Yes, doors open. We're ready.
As soon as you say yes, you blink, you're in a different place. You're in that darkness, that dark space again. That's sort of like hazy, foggy ground around you, but you are not next to each other. You all are all alone, but you feel that your friends are still near you, but you cannot see or touch them, but you feel their presence near. But you look around, they are not around you. They're not near you. And you all hear a voice individually. Dole, you start, you're in this space, and then you hear a disembodied voice, and you hear, are you Helene or Vigo?
Oh, God. Neither, although I'm commonly misplaced for both of those.
You hear it louder. Are you Helene or Vigo?
God, when you give me those choices. I think I've been both. If I were to answer today, after spending the entire morning in a billowed dress, maybe Vigo. But I'm neither. In fact, I reject the fucking question. I'm done. Dullozon is the name.
You hear it louder a third time.
Oh,
Are you Helene or Vigo?
dull. I gave you the answer. I know what you want me to say. You want me to pick one or the other, but I'm not going to sacrifice my friends, and I'm damn not going to put 5 years of my life away to ruin my relationship with my wife just to plan a few vampires that don't actually even go through with what I planned for them.
Next turn.
I think I'd do it
then
better.
we jump over to
Oh no, we're all dead.
We jump over to Vetra. Vetra, you hear this voice. Are you Davith or Vigo?
Oh.
I don't think she says anything. I think she spins around trying to like see.
We're all gonna die to stubbornness.
the-
This is
the-
the perfect
the
test
que-
against us.
The question repeats. Are you Davith or Vigo? This will go a lot better if you answer the questions.
Like, you know that I'm neither. I don't understand what you want from this.
Are you Davith or Vigo?
Neither.
Are you Davith or Vigo? Next turn. Theo, you hear. Are you useless or a monster?
Both.
You hear a laugh. Next turn. Winnie. Are you Tom or Veradin?
I don't want to be either, but I've been worried these last couple of days that I'm just the next Tom.
Is that your answer?
It's true.
Hmm.
So yes.
So, the end of the round. Vetra and Dull, you take 6 damage. Everyone else, you take 2.
Vetra,
Yes.
for whatever reason, some of the burden of this, it seems to hit you. You feel kind of the weight of maybe it's that answer, maybe it's this magic, who knows what the labyrinth is doing. But then immediately there's like almost like a salve, and that ring warms just a little bit. Vetra only takes 3 damage. Winnie will take the other 3.
Hate that, but all right.
The we go back to Dull. Are you Helene or Vigo?
God, I mean, recently, if you would have asked me at the beginning of the year, I might have said Helene, honestly. And I think that people have been giving her a bad rap lately. Yes, of course, she is the betrayer god and all those different things that we attribute to our mothers, but that's everyone's representation of their mother, isn't it? No? Okay. Well, I was starting to understand her burden, though. She loved her
Are
people.
you Helene
She
or
loved
Vigo?
people she was with. She saw that the folks were being misrepresented, that they deserved a piece of the magic just as Veradin did, and
You take 8 damage.
okay.
Dull. Next turn. Vetra. Are you Davith or Vigo?
Well, it sounds like I'm dead either way, so I don't really like those options.
Are you Davith
Oh my god.
or Vigo?
Davith.
Is that true?
I don't even really actually know how to put that into words.
Oh, that's fine.
If she had to pick one or the other, yeah, honestly, it would be Davith, but she hates everything about both of them. So,
Okay. You only take 4 damage. Then we go over to Theo. Theo, you find yourself in a different place. You find yourself surrounded by you're in a tavern. You remember this tavern. It is shortly after your first memory, Vigo brought you here. And this is where he asked you to be one of the Knights of Nemeria, where he gave you the dagger. And you see him sort of walking back over to the table that you're sitting. You remember this very well. And he sits down. I know this has been sort of hard recently. But I think I know a few people that might. They help people. You can do things that not a lot of people can do, and maybe you'd want to join with them? I don't know. Something to do. What do you think? And you are current Theo. This is not... You know everything that you know. You remember this spot. What do you do?
Theo sitting with Vigo and looks at him and says, well, if I'm traveling with heroes and people, maybe along the way they can help me remember who I am.
You see him kind of like blink a little bit. Yeah, I think... Yeah. Well, if you want to do that, you're going to need this. And then he slides the bone dagger across the table. And then you're back at the tavern. You see Vigo walking up to you. You remember this memory. This is where Vigo told you to join the Knights of Nemeria. He sits down. He says, I know this has been a lot, but there's people that can help you. I don't know if you want to do anything like that, but what do you think? You have powers like you.
Why are you lying to me?
What? What do you
Why are
mean?
you lying to me?
Lying about what?
I've been here before. I've done this before.
I don't think so. You were in a battlefield just the other day. Unless you did some traveling I don't know of, I don't think you've been here before.
Sure. I'd love to join the Knights of Nemeria.
Yeah, that's a really good guess. Starts over again. Can you give me a wisdom or some sort of intelligence saving throw? And while this is happening, though this thing is repeating, you also hear another question from that disembodied voice. Which Knight of Nemeria would you sacrifice to save the world?
Fucked up personality test.
Myself. Only myself.
You hear a little bit of a laugh. What is your purpose?
You tell me. If I die here, do they get to go on?
Do you have a purpose?
Maybe I don't. Maybe I do. I don't know. Nobody's ever told me anything. Nobody's ever explained anything to me. But I don't really care if I've some great purpose or not. I'm asking you, if I die here, do my friends go on?
Cake or pie?
Neither. I don't have a sweet tooth.
Next turn. Winnie, you find yourself in Olmhurst, in your town. This is, you remember this very well. This is the town meeting where everyone met outside on the stage, and you can see off in the distance fire and battle long, long, long way off. But you notice the town elder has gathered everyone. This is the point where they decided to leave or to stay. And the elder is like, we either can trust in the gods that they have blessed and protected this place, or we have to leave. It is time to vote. What do you do?
We fight. We do the thing we've been training for. We defend this place that we love, because none of us are going anywhere. And Winnie speaks above the crowd, and Winnie is 18, 19 or so, and her voice is loud and strong in this group of people.
And I would say all of the people in the town turn to you and they look braver for it. And they sort of some of them stand up a little bit taller, and then you hear this disembodied voice. Would you let one die to save thousands?
If it was me, yeah.
Have you found the spell to fix your mistakes?
No.
Was it worth it? All that wasted time.
I still want to think that it was. But I don't know.
Next turn. Jumps back to dull. The same space, darkness. Are you Helene or Vigo?
Oh, well, we already talked about Helene. Vigo's a different story. I mean, you could take a look at the mastermind that takes 4 years to plan the death of every close person in his family, of all their happiness, of their connections, their reason for being, and think he is the worst person on this planet. But then you can also look at it being as he was the first one who really saw Tom for what he was.
Give me a persuasion or something.
Okay. A 22. And you can realize that he's the reason why we're all here. Because he was the first to stand
You just
up.
hear,
Vigo, can I move on? What's the next one?
Okay. You only take 1 damage. And you are in a different place now. And you remember this place very well. Which is the king's room. This is the strategy chamber. Winnie, Theo, Vetra, they're all there. You see Winnie setting up the candles. You remember this was right before you decided to tell the king. And you see him across the table. What is all of this, then? It's something... All of this strangeness with the heroes turning into monsters, there's got to be someone behind it. Tell me what this is.
God, it is so much more than I could ever tell you. It is a story that has been building for years. It is a decision that I regret every day since it's happened, and it's only been one day. It is a life lived in pursuit of good things, of great people, and of stories that will die untold.
About? Tell me who's behind this. I'm the king.
It's
I need to
Tom.
know how to protect my...
It's Tom. It's Tom. It's Tom. You know it's Tom. We've told you it's Tom, and it goes.
You see the crack
terribly.
in the glass, and then the crack reseals, and it's at the beginning of this memory again. How are all of these heroes being turned into monsters? We need to know who is behind this.
You know what, though? I think if I had not told you, if we had not gone through with this, I don't think Theo would have ever told me. Do you know how much of a catch that is? That she would have to die to tell me anything of what was going to happen.
What are you
All of
talking
them.
about?
They're the same way. None of them talkers. I thought I was emotionally unavailable. Have you met these
You're
people?
not making
this one.
sense there, lad.
But
I need to know how to protect my people.
that's the question, K.o.N, isn't it? Are you willing to sacrifice everything to hear the truth? Or would you like a pretty lie? And I've never known my answers. That's my question to whoever this is.
I'd want the truth.
It's Tom.
The crack starts again. It starts over. And Doll, you hear, which Knight of Nemeria would you sacrifice to save the world?
Is this a trick question? Can I pick myself?
Why would it be Theo?
I wouldn't sacrifice Theo.
Is it
You're
because
ridiculous.
she's useless?
She's not useless. It's something she branded herself because of other people.
Does friendship matter if everyone's dead?
What are you doing with the answers? Oh, you can ask all the questions I can't?
Does friendship matter?
Friendship
if everyone's
matters.
dead.
Absolutely. Changed me into what I am. I meant it when I said I would wait 4 days and watch the world end. If they had said yes, that's what we'd be doing now.
I would say, give me another... Actually, you know what? You don't have to make another intelligence or wisdom saving throw. You've repeated this little memory a couple of times, and you've played it sort of the right way, and you've also played it, I guess, the wrong way in your mind.
I think
But-
Del gets bored at a certain point too, and just sees how many times he can say Tom to K.o.N, like Tom, to see if it'll just.
And you can tell by now that it sounds like the voice. It asks you another question, which you find strange, and it says, "What's your favorite color?"
Oh, that's tough. Is black an option? It's actually the absence of all color, but
And there's interjecting with these strange questions, and it doesn't make sense. All of these strange, you think maybe you've heard stories of like weird things repeating and like Groundhog Day trying to do the right thing, but it's not working here. It sounds bored, the voice. Next turn. Then we go to Vetra, and I don't think... Wait, no, Vetra, you did say. Vetra,
did.
you find yourself in the mountains. Cold place, your home. Long time ago, and you find your father standing outside of your lodge, your company home, your home from when you were little. And you're a lot smaller, and you see two priests standing a little bit farther away. And one of them, they all both have very sickly nice appearances on their faces. And you see Davi's like, "Well, my little mountain, you had something important you wanted to say, right? Well, let's hear it." And one of the priests is like, "Yes, we would love to hear what your daughter is so upset about."
I assume I'm present day Vetra, but like in little Vetra body.
Yeah, like they see you as little Vetra, but you are still big Vetra.
Okay. It doesn't matter.
What do you mean?
This isn't real. It doesn't matter.
Of course, this is real. What do you mean? This is important. If this is important to you, then it's important to me. My daughter.
No, because you see how this goes is I tell you what happened, and you don't believe me. So, is it really that important to you?
Well, what is it? What do you mean I don't believe you?
These people are frauds.
How? They are men of the gods. What do you mean they're frauds?
Man of the gods. There we are with that word again.
Come on, explain yourself.
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this!
You see, she's confused, my lord. Is this a child's way? The mine is perfectly safe. And I would say you hear that voice. Why should it have been you instead of Davith?
Who says it should have?
I think you know the answer to that.
What are you playing at here? What is this? Because I'm getting really fucking tired of it.
The memory repeats. Music or a poem?
Music.
And then we switch to the next person, I think is Theo. Theo, you're back at the beginning here. And again, Vigo is there. He is asking you to join the Knights of Nemeria. What do you do?
I love your nephew.
What? Dull?
Yes, Dole. And if you let me out of this, I can see him again.
How have you met Dull?
I told you. I've been through this a bunch of times.
Through what? Which is...
This.
Understand.
Again and again. You asking me to join the Knights of Nemeria. Me saying, yes, I'll join. I want to join. I want to remember who I am. You resetting everything again and again and again. But from here on, I want to move. I want to run into them on the street. I want to see Dole at the tavern. I want to go through everything again. I don't want to be stuck in the loop. I just want to see him again.
Then you're gonna need this. And he slides the bone dagger in front of you. And then you hear the voice once again. Chaos or order?
I think the only thing I've ever brought is chaos.
And then we're going to cycle through these turns yet again. We're going to jump over to Winnie. Everyone, you're making these same sort of realizations that it doesn't matter if you're doing these right or wrong, but it seems to want something more. It seems bored, whatever this voice is. Winnie, what do you do on your turn?
The last time I was in a labyrinth, it was a corn maze, and it was grown by Farmer Todd, and he had spent all year putting it together. This is certainly more impressive in some ways than others, but I don't have time for this. If these illusions, if these visions are your way of taking us through the twists and turns of a labyrinth, just consider them solved. I'm done. Take me to your end.
What happens in a world where it doesn't matter? There is no lesson to learn. Order or chaos?
There might not be a specific lesson that the world is trying to teach you, but there's always something you can learn if you look at it with the desire to come away from something better or stronger, even though the situation has no merit in claiming that it taught you anything, because it was shit from top to bottom.
Huh. Your vision sort of dissipates, and you see that you are in that darkened room, surrounded by that little fog on the floor, and you see your other friends standing like stark still. It looks like they are in a different place, and it seems as if you might be able to help them in some sort of way. But before you get to that, then we jump to the next turn back at the top with Dull. And it seems like this thing is bored. You hear him say again, order or chaos. Just do something fun for once, entertaining. Gods.
You must have had so many people come through here and answer your questions, haven't you? Just collecting every answer under the book. Everyone who was bold enough to make it through these
Actually,
labyrinths. You took
no.
No?
These are
How many?
specific for you.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Everything's very specific for me.
Yes. The last one tried to come through. Didn't do any well because he was alone. He couldn't finish it.
Couldn't finish it. You need other people to finish this?
What would a labyrinth be if I could just finish it myself? Come on. Come on, do something interesting. Stab the king, do something.
I'm bored of it just the same as you are. I'd rather ask you questions. Why you set this up, what this is,
And you
where
see,
it comes from.
you see something sort of appears in the image, and it is this goat skull face with these like black horns and a satyr body, and it has these piercing green eyes from under the skull. And he's like, just stab the king! And he stabs Kanan in the face. He's like, ugh! And just like falls back, and he's just like,
Oh.
God, you people are so boring! And
Good show.
disappears, jumps over to the next vision, which is Vetra. Same sort of things. Order or chaos, just do something.
I think it doesn't really. I don't think he gets to say just do something, because I think at this point, with it repeating, Vetra is just like moving to shove one of these fucking like priests.
I would say, yeah, you shove one of these priests off, and they fall, and the other priest's like, dear God, what are you doing? What is wrong with your daughter? And David's like, there's nothing wrong. If she thought you needed to die, I guess you needed to die. And then you hear clapping, like, that's what I'm talking about, yes! And Vetra, the vision leaves you, and you are standing, and you see Winnie is also conscious, and it looks like... Doll is also, the vision is going away from Doll, and it looks like only Theo is still in this place. And then we switch over to Theo. Theo, you hear again, order, chaos, just do something different. Stop being so predictable.
Theo casts Thunderclap.
And zaboom! And Vigo in the vision flies back. The table splits in half. Everything flies away and then it disappears. And then the room starts to light up in front of you, all of you, as the vision dissipates. And you see a lone tree on a hill, a black tree that has these red leaves on it. And you see this satyr that is sort of crouching on one of the limbs of the tree and has that goat skull over its head that is sort of tilting. All you can see is just darkness under it. It's kind of like Ch02, the Pokemon. I think that's what it is. A very big skull over what its head is, just darkness inside, but those really piercing green eyes that do a little bit of like light trails when it moves. And you hear it speak like, well done. So very exciting for you to finally do something worthwhile. Ah. Well, welcome. You did the thing. You did the labyrinth. Congratulations, I guess.
Do we get a boon then? We get the reward?
Yeah, if that's what you wish.
That's what we wish. How does this work? Do we explain the terms?
What would you
Do you
want?
already?
Would
We
you
need-
want something that perhaps unlimited riches? Perhaps some sort of other things? What is
No.
it?
We need a magical device to break through the wards of Tom's magical tower. Post haste. Something that protects all of us.
He looks down at you from atop the tree branch. Yes, I can see that all of you are on. You're connected to something very large indeed.
Mm-hmm.
I could give you that. But wouldn't you rather stop her heart from exploding?
You could do that?
Yes. I can only give you one.
And you could guarantee it was finished. That it was over with, whatever curse was set.
Yes. That is within my power.
That's
It
not going to
seems
matter.
less interesting.
That's not going to matter if we don't finish this, guys. I know how tempting that is.
Why not
Maybe we could-
introduce a little bit of chaos?
We've had enough fucking chaos, thank you.
We could design something that could break the wards on our own, couldn't we?
I might have an easier. I've been trying real hard to get rid of the thing that binds Theo's heart, and I don't. It's going to be hard, and maybe I'd have an easier time with the wards around. I mean, are you sure, Vetra? It's certainly something. Theo, what do you think? We could fix it right now.
We could fix it right now, but then there's no guarantee that we would have what we need for Tom. If we don't take care of Tom, I'm dead in 2 days anyway.
But if we had a chance to save you and we could beat Tom,
I would never ask you to choose me over the world.
Is there anything I can give you that would have you give us both?
He shakes his head. One solving, one boon.
Choose the wards. We choose the wards.
Shield us from Tom's magic.
As you wish. And you see everything goes dark in the room except for its green eyes, and then lights go out. And you all open your eyes. And you're laying on a grassy field, and the rain is hitting your face. You look up and you see that it is starting to rain, and you look over the hill and you can see the city of Thames within distance. And you see that it is dark gray clouds above. It is starting to just lightly rain. Your carriages that you took are right next to you on this hill, and you can see down, and in the center of that city you see the castle.
what day is it? How much time do we have? Can we tell?
Time has indeed passed, and I would say the answer to your question is waiting out on the sea at the center of this fog. You see very, very many looking soldiers there with very, very old armor, standing still, resting on this icy sea. Many wraiths waiting on the edge of the sea. We cut forward to perhaps an hour or so later, after all the plans have been done and you have entered into Tom's castle. And you reach a room where you know this is where the mirror is supposed to be. And you see, as you enter the room, there's not one mirror, There's hundreds of mirrors in this room, all in concentric circles around each other. And you see in the center of the room, there is something, a figure. It looks hunched, has a really long red cape down to the floor. And it looks as if there's a bunch of, it almost looks like a porcupine. There's something sticking out of the top of it everywhere. And you can hear the dragons. They're everywhere. My friends are sleeping. We've got to be quiet, otherwise the dragons will hear. And you see the figure turn around, and there's swords coming out of the king's back. He looks like a porcupine, and there's shadow over his face, bright red eyes and blood leaking down from his face. We've got to stop the dragons! Where did all this romance come from? Everyone.
Do we level up, Adam,
Oh,
please?
fuck, right, yeah. You guys level up. And I was like, all right, this
And then
is where
all
it's
of us were
naturally
like,
going. They're like, oh,
Step back.
bitch, no, you coming
I
for
want
a
this
girl?
shit.
Yeah.
This is not what we meant by a boon.
I know.